What happens when a gate agent, blinded by prejudice, tries to humiliate a passenger in the first-class line? What happens when that passenger isn't just a quiet traveler, but the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation? And what happens when that CEO has the power to cancel a $50 million contract on the spot? This isn't just a story about an argument at an airport. This is a story about power, prejudice, and the kind of hard, cold karma that changes lives in an instant. You are about to hear how a simple, "Mom, you need to move," led to a corporate explosion at 30,000 feet. The air inside John F. Kennedy International Airport's Terminal 4 was thick with the smell of stale Cinnabon and the electric hum of mass anxiety. Outside, a late October nor'easter was beginning to snarl, its icy fingers already delaying departures up and down the coast. The terminal was a microcosm of the storm, a swirling mass of frustrated travelers, crying children, and the incessant, apologetic chime of gate announcements. Through this chaos moved Dr. Evelyn Reed. To the casual observer, she was just another traveler, albeit one who seemed immune to the surrounding frenzy. She was tall, poised, and dressed in a way that signaled wealth without screaming it. A tailored cashmere overcoat, a simple but clearly expensive silk shell, and trousers that fell with perfect precision to her leather loafers. Her face, framed by expertly managed locks pulled back into a severe bun, was composed, but her eyes were focused, scanning data on the phone pressed to her ear. "No, David, don't postpone the Dublin data center integration," she said, her voice low and calm, yet cutting through the din. "The weather is a logistics problem, not a strategy problem. Reroute the server transit through our Frankfurt hub. Pay the premium, I don't care. We will have the Sinova Globalis cargo manifests integrated by Monday, or the entire Q4 projection is compromised." Evelyn was the founder and CEO of Sinova Solutions, a data logistics and predictive analytics firm that had, in layman's terms, quietly become the central nervous system for half of the Fortune 500. When a shipping container knew it needed to be on a specific truck, or an airline knew how many vegan meals to stock on a cross-country flight, it was Sinova's algorithms doing the thinking. And her biggest travel and cargo partner, Globalis Air, a $50 million per year contract that saw hundreds of Sinova employees and terabytes of Sinova-managed cargo crisscrossing the globe on Globalis jets. She was flying to London Heathrow tonight, Flight 104, first class, seat 1A, a critical, in-person-only meeting to finalize the acquisition of a UK-based AI firm. She was tired, the bone-deep exhaustion that came not just from a 70-hour work week, but from the constant, low-grade static of being a black woman in C-suite America. "David, I'm at the gate. I'll call you from the lounge," she said, ending the call. She approached gate B23. The pre-boarding announcement had just begun, and the lines were already forming in their designated, roped-off channels. The atmosphere here was even more strained. Flight 104 was, so far, on time, making it a golden ticket out of the brewing storm. The tension was palpable. At the head of the first-class line, standing behind a podium like a sentinel, was a woman who seemed to be absorbing all the terminal's anxiety and radiating it back out as pure, unfiltered stress. She was a middle-aged woman with a tight blonde perm, a Globalis Air uniform that seemed one size too small, and a name tag that read Karen Miller, lead gate supervisor. Karen was shouting at a young baggage handler, her voice a sharp, nasal whine. "I don't care what the system says. You will find space for Mr. Henderson's golf clubs. He's Diamond Medallion. Make it happen." Evelyn sighed, a small, quiet breath. She hated gateboarding. It was the great, unpleasant equalizer, a place where status was simultaneously flaunted and challenged. She pulled out her phone, displaying the dark blue first-class boarding pass, and stepped into the empty Priority 1 lane. She was the first passenger in line. Karen Miller finished berating the young man and turned her attention to the queue. Her eyes scanned past the economy line, past the Comfort Plus line, and landed directly on Evelyn. Karen's face, already pinched with stress, tightened into a mask of pure, unadulterated suspicion. She looked at Evelyn, looked at the first class sign above her head, and then back at Evelyn. Her eyes raked over Evelyn's coat, her hair, her face. Evelyn felt it. The familiar, cold drop in her stomach. The appraisal. The calculation. The assessment of whether she belonged. She held her ground, her expression perfectly neutral, her phone held loosely at her side, screen visible. "Mum," Karen Miller said, her voice loud enough for the entire gate to hear. Evelyn didn't move. She simply met the woman's gaze. "Mum," Karen repeated, louder. "This line is for first class and Diamond Medallion members only. Can you read the sign?" The noise at the gate seemed to dip. Heads turned. Evelyn felt the prickle of a dozen pairs of eyes. "Here we go." "Yes, I can," Evelyn replied, her voice steady, professional. "I'm in seat 1A. She took a step forward, intending to place her phone on the scanner. Karen put a flat, matronly hand up, blocking Evelyn's path. No, ma'am. I need you to step out of this line. The line for economy comfort is over there, to the left. We need to keep this lane clear for our actual premium passengers who are about to board." The accusation hung in the air, thick and toxic. Actual premium passengers. Evelyn Reed did not raise her voice. She did not get angry. She simply froze, her entire being crystallizing into a state of cold, sharp clarity. She had navigated hostile boardrooms, skeptical venture capitalists, and flat-out racist competitors. She was not about to be moved by a gate agent on a power trip. "My name is Dr. Evelyn Reed," she said, enunciating every syllable. "My ticket is for seat 1A. I am going to ask you, as a professional, to scan my boarding pass." Karen's face flushed a blotchy red. She saw a challenge, not a request. "Ma'am, I don't have time for your games. I see this all the time. People trying to sneak on or get an upgrade they didn't pay for. I'm not playing this with you. Move, now." "I am not playing a game," Evelyn said, her voice dropping. "I am a paying passenger, and you are currently denying me boarding. I'll deny you more than that if you don't move," Karen snapped. "I'll call security. You are causing a disturbance." A man behind Evelyn, in a crumpled suit, huffed. "For God's sake, lady, just go where she says. You're holding us all up." Evelyn ignored him. She looked at Karen. "What is your name?" "My name is Karen Miller," the woman said, puffing up with a sense of righteous authority. "I am the lead supervisor for this gate, and I am ordering you to move to the back of the economy line." It was at that precise, suspended moment that the twist of the knife came. A man, white in his late 40s, wearing a garish, logo-heavy designer tracksuit and blinding white sneakers, hustled up to the lane, cutting past the Diamond Medallion line. He was talking loudly on his AirPods. Yeah, I'm at the gate, just dealing with the riffraff," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Karen Miller's entire demeanor changed in a fraction of a second. The snarling mask melted into a fawning, saccharine smile. "Oh, Mr. Bradford, there you are. We were waiting for you," she gushed. She turned, physically angling her body to block Evelyn, and addressed the man. "Sir, please come right on through. Go ahead of this person. We'll get you settled." Evelyn Reed's blood didn't just run cold, it turned to ice. She knew that man. That was Bro Chad Bradford, the insufferable, slick-talking Vice President of Sales for Quantum Leap Dynamics, Cinova's most aggressive and unscrupulous competitor, the very company she was flying to London to outmaneuver. Bradford caught her eye. He paused. A slow, greasy smirk spread across his face. He recognized her. He saw the gate agent blocking her. He understood exactly what was happening. And he, Chad Bradford, said nothing. He simply adjusted his designer bag and made a go-ahead motion to Karen as if to say, "Yes, please, continue humiliating my chief rival." This was no longer a personal insult. It was a professional, public humiliation. Karen Miller had not just insulted a black woman. She had, in her ignorance, handed a symbolic victory to Cinova's mortal enemy. Evelyn Reed's composure didn't break. It solidified. The Dr. Reed, who managed data centers and analyzed quarterly reports, vanished. The COO Reed, who fired executives for ethics violations and made multi-million-dollar decisions in the span of a heartbeat, took her place. "Stop," Evelyn said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was so charged with absolute authority that everyone, including Chad Bradford, froze. Karen turned, affronted. "That's it! I'm calling!" Evelyn held up a single finger, and Karen's words died in her throat. Evelyn Reed pulled her phone back from the scanner. She tapped the screen, dismissing her boarding pass. She navigated to her contacts. "Ms. Miller," Evelyn said, her voice a flat, level plane of ice. "You just made a decision. Now I'm going to make one." She found the name in her contacts. David Chen, CFO. She pressed the call button, and she put it on speaker. The gate area, already quiet, became a vacuum. The only sounds were the distant roar of a jet engine and the tinny ringing of Evelyn's phone. Karen Miller stared, her blotchy red face a mixture of confusion and bravado. "What are you doing? Calling your lawyer? Go ahead. I'm just doing my job." Chad Bradford watched, his smirk fading into genuine, calculating curiosity. He hadn't boarded. This was more interesting. The phone clicked. "Evelyn, I thought you were in the lounge. What's wrong?" David Chen's voice, sharp and worried, filled the air. "David," Evelyn said, her voice as clear and cold as a winter morning. "I am currently at Gate B23, JFK Terminal 4, for Globalis Flight 104. She paused, locking eyes with Karen Miller, whose bravado was beginning to curdle into a sick, dawning horror. "I need you to open the Globalis Airmaster contract," Evelyn continued. "Find Article 14, subsection B, the Service Failure and Reputational Detriment Clause." On the other end of the line, David was silent for a beat. "Evelyn, Article 14 Awotib that's the termination clause. That's the kill switch. What is going on? That's our entire $50 million corporate and cargo account." Karen Miller's mouth fell open. Her eyes darted from Evelyn's face to the phone and back. The word million had landed like a physical blow. "Correct, David," Evelyn said, "and I want you to execute it, effective immediately. As of this moment, Cinova Solutions has terminated its partnership with Globalis Air." "What?" David's voice was now a squeak. "Evelyn, you can't be serious. A service failure? What happened? Did they lose the server shipment?" "Worse," Evelyn said. She never broke her gaze from Karen's. "I am currently being denied boarding, in full view of the public, by your lead gate supervisor, Ms. Karen Miller." She gestured to Karen. "Ms. Miller has decided, based on her own assessment, that I do not look like a first-class passenger. She has instructed me to move to the economy line and has accused me of causing a disturbance for insisting she scan my valid, paid-for ticket." The blood drained so fast from Karen Miller's face that she looked like a ghost. She swayed, grabbing the podium for support. You. Evelyn wasn't finished. "Furthermore," she said, her voice slicing through Karen's stammering. Ms. Miller then proceeded to publicly humiliate me by stopping my boarding to personally invite Mr. Chad Bradford of Quantum Leap Dynamics. She nodded curtly at Chad, whose face was now ashen, to cut in front of me, announcing that he was a valued passenger, and I was— what was the word? A person? David Chen's intake of breath was sharp. He was no longer questioning. He was furious. She did what? In front of Bradford? Oh my God. This is the 4th significant service-level complaint we have lodged against Globalis this quarter, David, Evelyn said, her voice now ringing with the finality of a judge's gavel. The failed cargo shipment to Singapore, the data breach on their booking system, the overbilling on last month's invoices. And now, this. An employee treating the CEO of your largest corporate partner with blatant public racism and professional disrespect in front of our chief competitor. She took a small, sharp breath. It's a pattern. It's a liability. And it ends now. Globalis Air has proven they are not a reliable partner. Terminate the contract. Send the notification to their CEO, James Holloway, and copy their head of corporate accounts. Cite Article 14 Hawatwar Sajdobig. I will have a full incident report on your desk before I land. But, Evelyn, how will you land? David asked, practical again. That, Evelyn said, is the other matter. She looked past the now paralyzed Karen to the younger, pale-faced gate agent cowering behind the desk. Young man, what time is the next British Airways flight to Heathrow? The young man fumbled with his keyboard. 9:15 p.m. From Terminal 7, ma'am. It's a code share with American. Excellent, Evelyn said. David, book me a first-class seat on that flight. One World Alliance. It seems we'll be moving our $50 million account to them. I'll take an Uber to Terminal 7. And please, retrieve my checked luggage from Globalis Flight 104. I will not be flying with them. Not today. Not ever again. Done, David said. His voice was grim. I'll handle it. I'm so sorry, Evelyn. It's not your fault, David. It's a business decision. She hung up. The gate was tomb silent. Every passenger, from first class to the last row of economy, had heard every word. The man who had told her to just move looked like he'd swallowed his tongue. Chad Bradford, the competitor, looked at Evelyn with a new, terrified respect. He slowly, deliberately, backed out of the priority lane. He wanted no part of this. Karen Miller was shaking, her entire body. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She was staring at a woman who had just, in the span of 2 minutes, detonated a $50 million bomb and torched her entire career. You can't, Karen finally whispered, tears welling in her eyes. That's my job. You can't just— I can, Evelyn said, her voice softening, but not with pity, with finality. And I did. You made an assumption, Ms. Miller. You assumed I had no power. You assumed I didn't belong. You assumed you could disrespect me, and there would be no consequences. That is a luxury your company, and you, can no longer afford. From down the concourse, a new sound emerged, the frantic, slapping footsteps of someone running. A man in a slightly better-fitting suit, his face purple with panic, came sprinting toward the gate, a phone clutched to his ear. He was the station manager. Dr. Reed! Dr. Reed! He yelled, skidding to a halt. Mr. Henderson, I'm Alan Henderson, station manager. I just got off the phone with everyone. There has been a terrible, terrible misunderstanding. Evelyn Reed picked up her designer carry-on. She slid the handle up. Mr. Henderson, she said, looking the frantic man directly in the eye. There is no misunderstanding. There is only a consequence. Your employee, Ms. Miller, just cost Globalis Air its largest corporate account in the Northeast. Her actions were not a misunderstanding. They were racist, unprofessional, and a direct liability to my company. I will not be placated. I will not accept a voucher. She looked at Karen, who was now openly sobbing, a harsh, ugly sound. "And you," she said to Karen, "are a symptom of a corporate culture that allowed this to happen." She turned, her loafers making a sharp, definitive click on the linoleum, and began to walk away from the gate, from the flight, from the airline. "Dr. Reed, wait!" Henderson pleaded, running after her. "We can fix this. We'll fire her. Right now. We'll fire her. Please don't leave." Evelyn stopped, but she didn't turn around. "You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Henderson? This isn't about her job anymore. It's about my standards, and you have failed them." She walked away, leaving a nuclear crater in the middle of Terminal 4. Henderson stopped, watching her go, his hands clenched at his sides. He knew, with dreadful certainty, that his own career was now hanging by a thread. He turned slowly back to the gate, his face a mask of cold fury. He looked at the passengers, at the stunned crew, and then his gaze landed on the weeping, crumpled form of Karen Miller. The fallout was just beginning. The walk from gate B23 to the terminal exit was the longest walk of Evelyn Reed's life. It felt as though she were moving through water, the stunned, whispering silence of the gate area following her. She didn't look back. She passed a Globalis Air Flying Higher advertisement and felt a bitter, hollow laugh rise in her throat. By the time she reached the relative anonymity of the departures hall, her phone was vibrating so hard it was practically jumping out of her hand. The first call was from David. "It's done," he said. "The termination notice is sent. James Holloway's entire executive team is in my inbox. They're apoplectic. They're demanding a call." "They can demand one with our legal team," Evelyn said, hailing an Uber on the app. "Send them a one-line reply. Sonova Solutions stands by the decision as outlined in the notice." "And David? Start the RFP for One World and Star Alliance. I want proposals on my desk by Monday." "You got it. And Evelyn, your BA flight is confirmed. Terminal 7. They're expecting you." "Thank you, David." She hung up, and immediately the phone buzz-oozed again, a name she didn't recognize, and another, and another. Text messages began to flood in. Forbes, "Dr. Reed, hearing reports of a major corporate split with Globalis Air. Can you confirm?" Bloomberg, "Source at JFK reports, Sonova Solutions. CEO terminated Globalis contract at the gate over passenger incident. Seeking comment." The Points guy, "Tip, all-out war at JFK B23. Globalis agent denies boarding to CEO. CEO nukes 50-minute answered contract. Story developing." Someone at the gate, a passenger, a blogger, maybe even Chad Bradford's opportunistic assistant. Someone had live-tweeted the entire execution. The story was out. It was already going viral. This was no longer just an incident. It was international news. Meanwhile, back at gate B23, chaos reigned. Flight 104 was now officially delayed as Mr. Henderson, the station manager, had to deal with the epicenter of the blast. "Get her off the gate!" Henderson snarled to the pale junior agent, pointing at Karen, who was now slumped in a passenger seat, staring into the middle distance, her face a sticky, tear-streaked mess. "Get her to my office, now." He turned to the bewildered passengers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a slight operational delay. We will begin boarding shortly. We apologize for the disturbance." He received only cold, judgmental stares in return. The entire plane load of passengers now knew that Globalis Air had just lost a $50 million contract because of the woman at the podium. Their operational delay was a PR nightmare. Henderson marched Karen Miller through the crew-only corridors, his grip on her upper arm bruisingly tight. He didn't speak until the door to his sterile, windowless office was slammed shut. He threw his own phone onto the desk. It was lit up like a Christmas tree. "Karen," he hissed, his voice trembling with a rage so deep it was almost silent. "Do you have any idea what you have just done?" Karen, her mind still in a fog of disbelief, shook her head. She was being difficult. She wouldn't what? Henderson roared, his composure finally snapping. She wouldn't bow down to you? She wouldn't accept your little power trip? He grabbed the phone and jabbed a button. "This is James Holloway, the CEO of Globalis Air. He's called me 7 times in 5 minutes. Not his assistant. Him. The big man. And do you know what the text from the VP of North American Operations says? It says, 'Fix this or don't bother coming in tomorrow.'" He loomed over her. "So you're going to fix this for me, Karen. You're going to tell me exactly what happened. And it better be good." I thought she was..." Karen's defense was pathetic. Small. She didn't look like, a first-class passenger. She was just standing there. So arrogant. I asked her to move, and she got aggressive. She pulled out her phone and called her CFO. Henderson finished for her, his voice dripping with contempt. "Because she is a CEO, you idiot. That was Dr. Evelyn Reed, doctor, CEO of Sonova Solutions. Their logo is literally painted on the side of our new 787 cargo freighters. Their $50 million account pays your salary. It pays my salary." He paced, yanking at his tie. "We just spent 6 months trying to stop them from moving their cargo routes to Lufthansa. We gave them discounts, dedicated support. I've been in meetings about this account for weeks. And you, with one stupid, racist, power-tripping comment. You lit the entire relationship on fire. You just handed our biggest corporate account to British Airways on a silver platter." "Racist!" Karen shrieked, seizing on the word. "I'm not racist. I was just enforcing the rules. And Mr. Bradford, he's a diamond medallion. Oh, shut up, Karen. Just shut up," Henderson yelled. "I'm pulling the CCTV footage right now, and I'm pulling your employee file." He stormed over to his computer. The HR violation was already a formality. He was just building the case for her termination. He typed, his finger slamming the keys. The CCTV footage from the gate loaded. It was silent, but crystal clear. It showed Evelyn, calm and poised. It showed Karen jabbing her finger. It showed Evelyn standing her ground. It showed Karen physically blocking her. And then, the killing blow. It showed Karen's fawning, grotesque transformation as Chad Bradford arrived, and her dismissive, cruel gesture as she waved him in front of Evelyn. "My God," Henderson whispered, watching the replay. "It's worse than I thought. You didn't just stop her. You humiliated her, in front of a competitor. You... He was speechless. He clicked another window. Karen Miller's employee file. He scanned. And there it was. Complaint, 2021. Passenger alleges discriminatory language. Newark. Complaint, 2022. Unwarranted escalation with a medallion member. Complaint, 2023. Accusation of petty tyranny from a junior flight attendant. Complaint, 2024. Formal warning for passenger friction and failure to de-escalate. Karen Miller wasn't an employee having a bad day. She was a ticking time bomb. And today she had detonated, taking the entire Northeast Corporate Division with her. "Karen," Henderson said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "You are suspended, effective immediately. Hand over your badge and your cider pass." "Suspended?" she cried. "But it was a mistake. I'll apologize. Let me go talk to her." "Talk to her?" Henderson laughed, a harsh, dry bark. "She's probably in the British Airways first-class lounge right now, sipping champagne and signing a new contract. You don't exist to her anymore. You're just a liability that's been handled." He pointed to the door. "An airport security officer will be here in 1 minute to escort you from the premises. Your employment with Globalis Air is, for all intents and purposes, over. Do not contact anyone. Do not come back. We will mail you your things." "Alan, please," she begged, tears of genuine panic now. "I have 20 years with this airline. My husband works in baggage. We have benefits. "You should have thought of that," Henderson said, turning his back to her and picking up his phone to call the CEO. "You should have thought of that before you decided to play God at gate B23. The door opened, and a stone-faced Port Authority officer stepped inside. The hard karma was just beginning. For Karen, the free-fall had just started. For Globalis, the stock ticker was about to open. And for Evelyn Reed, the message was sent. The new standard was set. The first 24 hours of Karen Miller's new life were a blur of shame and surreal, spiraling panic. The security escort had been the worst part. Walked through the terminal she used to rule, her badge confiscated, her hands empty, while passengers and crew alike stared. She, Karen Miller, lead supervisor, was being marched out like a common criminal. She got to the employee parking lot, her 10-year-old Nissan feeling like a stranger's car. She sat for an hour, the engine off, the only sound the tick-tick-tick of the cooling engine and the roar of jets taking off without her. When she finally got home to her modest condo in Queens, her husband, Frank, was already there, still in his orange baggage handler's vest. He was sitting at the kitchen table, a can of Coors in his hand, his face like thunder. "Don't," he said, holding up a hand as she opened her mouth. "Just don't. My manager pulled me off the tarmac an hour ago. The entire ramp knows. Your wife just cost us the Sonova contract." "Is it true?" "Frank, she was just—" "Is it true, Karen?" he yelled, slamming the can on the table. "Did you try to kick a black CEO out of the first-class line?" "I didn't know she was a CEO," Karen shrieked, the defense sounding hollow, even to her own ears. "She just looked. She had an attitude. She wouldn't move." Frank stared at her, his eyes filled with a weary disappointment that was worse than anger. "You did it again, didn't you? Just like that guy in Newark you called sketchy. Just like that family you tried to have removed from the lounge. You went on one of your power trips, and this time you picked the wrong one." "It's not. It's not like that." "Save it," he grunted, taking a long pull of his beer. "They suspended me." Karen's world tilted. "What? Why? You didn't do anything." "Collateral damage, they called it. Conflict of interest in the investigation. They suspended me pending your termination. We're both out, Karen. No paycheck. No benefits." The word hung in the air. Benefits, the free flights, the one major perk of their grinding, middle-class airline life. The trips to Florida, the weekend in Vegas, their entire social identity. Gone. "They can't," Karen whispered. "They can, and they will. All because you couldn't just scan the damn ticket." Frank stood, tossing his empty can into the sink. "I'm going to my brother's. I can't even look at you right now." He left. The slamming of the condo door was as final as the click of Evelyn Reed's briefcase. Karen was alone. She turned on the TV, desperate for noise. It was on an all-news channel. And the markets reacted sharply this morning to the news that logistics giant Sonova Solutions has abruptly terminated its $50 million partnership with Globalis Air. Shares of Globalis fell more than 9% in early trading, a loss of nearly $800 million in market cap. Karen collapsed onto the sofa. $800 million usajos. The incident, which reportedly stemmed from a customer service failure at JFK, has gone viral under the hashtag #GateAgent Karen. Social media is ablaze, with users demanding the airline take action against the as-yet unnamed employee. She picked up her own phone. Her Facebook was full of messages. Colleagues, friends. Karen, what did you do? Is this you? Please tell me this isn't you. A blurred photo of her, finger jabbing at a preternaturally calm Evelyn, was everywhere. Her face, her tight blonde perm, her name tag, unreadable but unmistakably hers. She was not an unnamed employee. She was #GateAgent Karen. The days that followed were a descent. The formal termination letter arrived. Fired for cause, gross misconduct, violation of company ethics, and reputational damage. No severance, no pension payout. Her husband didn't come back. His own suspension became permanent. He was offered a package to voluntarily resign or be fired for being related to her. He took the package and filed for divorce. The condo, which was mostly in his name, was being sold. Karen was 53 years old, with a 20-year career that was now a toxic asset. She applied for other jobs: customer service supervisor at Verizon, shift manager at a hotel, office manager at a dental practice. The interviews would seem to go well. Then would come the background check. Or worse, the moment of dawning recognition from the interviewer. Wait a minute. Karen Miller. From the airport? From the news? One interviewer at a major hotel chain even laughed. You think I'm going to let you anywhere near my premium guests? The woman who cost Globalis $800 million? Get out of my office. She was blacklisted, not just from the airline industry, but from any job that involved customer-facing responsibilities. She was a pariah, a living, breathing case study of what not to do. Desperate, she tried one last delusional play. She found Chad Bradford on LinkedIn, the competitor, the man she had tried to help. She sent him a message. Mr. Bradford, this is Karen Miller, the Globalis agent from JFK. I'm sure you remember the incident with Dr. Reed. It was a terrible misunderstanding, and I have lost my job. You were there, you saw how aggressive Dr. Reed was being. I was wondering if you could provide a statement to my lawyer, just to say that I was handling a difficult situation. The response came not from Bradford, but from a legal-no-reply-quantumleap.com address. Ms. Miller, Mr. Bradford's recollection of the event at JFK T4B23 is that a Globalis employee failed to provide adequate service to a first-class passenger. He has no further comment on the matter and will not be responding to any future correspondence. Any further contact will be forwarded to our general counsel. He wouldn't help her. Why would he? He hadn't gotten the Sonova contract. Evelyn Reed was too smart for that. But his own company had used the Globalis stock dip to its advantage. To him, Karen wasn't a person. She was a footnote in a quarterly report. The condo was sold. Her savings evaporated. 6 months after she had tried to send Evelyn Reed to the back of the line, Karen Miller was, herself, standing in a line. A line at a job fair in a high school gymnasium, trying to get a $50 seasonal job stocking shelves for a big box store. The karma wasn't just a lost job. It was a complete and total erasure of her former life. The status she had lauded over others was gone. The uniform she had worn as armor was gone. The power she had abused was gone. All that was left was Karen Miller in a line, waiting for someone to call her name. 9 months later. The first-class lounge at London Heathrow, Terminal 5, was a different world. Where JFK's lounge had been chaotic and stressed, this was an oasis of understated old-world luxury. Quiet conversations, the clink of real porcelain, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the massive A380s and 787s. Dr. Evelyn Reed sat in a quiet corner, a pot of Earl Grey tea at her elbow. She was reading The Economist. She looked up as her CFO, David Chen, sat down opposite her, handing her a tablet. "The London acquisition is finalized," David said, smiling. "The new AI team is integrated. We're already seeing a 12% efficiency boost in the Frankfurt cargo hub." "Excellent," Evelyn said. "And the transition to British Airways?" "Expensive," David admitted. "Their cargo holds are configured differently, so we had to retool some of our containers. But their service is flawless, impeccable. We haven't had a single data loss incident or service complaint in 6 months. Not one." He leaned in. "And the stock?" Evelyn smiled. "Synnova Solutions is up 18% year over year. The Globalis incident, as the press calls it, actually helped us. It cemented our brand identity." "Brand identity?" "Think about it," Evelyn explained, steepling her fingers. "Our business is built on data integrity and unbiased algorithms. We sell trust. How could we partner with a company that demonstrated such blatant, systemic bias? The moment Karen Miller did that, our brands were in conflict. Terminating the contract wasn't just punitive. It was a brand-strengthening necessity. We showed our other clients that we will not tolerate bias, whether it's in a line of code or a boarding line." David nodded, impressed. "And Globalis?" Evelyn's smile faded slightly. She gestured to the tablet. "Their stock eventually recovered, but they're still bleeding corporate accounts. James Holloway, their CEO, was asked to retire 2 months ago. Alan Henderson, the JFK manager, was demoted to a regional hub in Omaha." "And her?" David asked quietly. Evelyn knew who he meant. "Karen Miller. I had my team do a discreet follow-up. It's not good. Lost her job, her husband, her home. Last we heard, she was working the night shift at a 24-hour convenience store in suburban New Jersey." David was quiet for a moment. "That's hard karma." "It is," Evelyn said, her voice neutral. "But actions, David, they have consequences. She wasn't just rude. She was the public face of a systemic rot. I couldn't fix her, but I could fix my company's exposure to that rot." Their conversation was interrupted by a young woman in a crisp, sharp British Airways pilot's uniform. She was black, with her hair in a neat, professional bun and a bright, nervous smile. "Excuse me, Dr. Reed?" the pilot asked, her accent a polished British Nigerian. Evelyn looked up. "Yes?" "My name is First Officer Maya Adebayo. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm deadheading on your flight back to New York. I was at JFK when it happened. I was in the crew room, and we heard the call go out. I saw you walk away." Evelyn motioned for her to sit. "First Officer, please." Maya sat, perching on the edge of the seat. "Dr. Reed, I just wanted to thank you." Evelyn blinked. "Thank me? I caused a great deal of trouble for your industry." "You caused change," Maya said, her eyes intense. "You have no idea what it's like. For us. For pilots. For flight attendants of color. The little things we endure every day. The passengers who ask to see the real pilot. The gate agents who accidentally misread our crew badges. The microaggressions we are trained to swallow. We're told, don't make a fuss. De-escalate. Just get on the plane." She leaned forward. "And then you didn't just get on the plane. You didn't make a fuss. You made a decision. You used your power to say, this is not acceptable. You didn't just fire a gate agent. You fired the airline." She smiled, a wide, brilliant thing. Globalis Air's new, mandatory, company-wide diversity and implicit bias training program is brutal, And it's working. And every other airline, including this one, saw what happened and redoubled their own training. You made the sky a little safer for all of us. You made our jobs better. So, from all of us, thank you." Evelyn Reed was, for a rare moment, speechless. She had seen the incident as a business necessity, a defense of her professional dignity. She had not, until this very second, considered the ripple effect, the positive karma. She reached out and placed her hand on the young pilots. "First Officer Adebayo," Evelyn said, her voice thick with an emotion that surprised her. "It is an honor to meet you, and I am honored to be flying with you." The boarding call for New York began. Evelyn stood, gathered her things, and walked with Maya toward the gate. Two powerful black women, moving unimpeded to the front of the line. The story for Evelyn Reed had concluded. She had made a decision. Her business was thriving, and she had inadvertently become a catalyst for positive change. She never gave Karen Miller or Chad Bradford a second thought. But karma is not a single explosion. It is a complex blast radius, sending out concentric rings of consequence that travel long after the source has moved on. The shockwave had shattered Karen's life and demoted Alan Henderson. Now it was time for the final ripples to find their targets. 1 year after the incident, Chad Bradford, the VP of Sales for Quantum Leap Dynamics, was sitting in a glass-walled conference room on the 45th floor of his own office building, waiting for his annual performance review. He was, in a word, triumphant. He had spent the last 12 months using the Globalis incident as a dining-out story. He'd tell it at bars, at client dinners, at the golf club. "You guys will not believe this," he'd start. "So I'm at JFK, and this gate agent, total battle axe, is just laying into this woman. Turns out, it's Evelyn freakin' Reed." She pulls out her phone, and boom, craters a $50 million contract right in front of me. It was the most gangster thing I've ever seen. He told the story as if he were a privileged observer, a co-conspirator. He'd conveniently leave out the part where Karen had tried to let him cut, or the smug look on his face. In his version, he was just a witness to a corporate execution. And his year had been good. He'd landed the Kyotech account. He'd poached a sales team from a smaller rival. He was expecting this meeting to be a victory lap, culminating in the announcement of his promotion to Senior Vice President. Mark Jenkins, the Chief Operating Officer, and Sarah Chen, the Head of Human Resources, entered the room. They did not look celebratory. They sat down, opened their folders, and looked at him with a cold, appraising flatness. "Chad," Mark began, his voice devoid of its usual golf buddy warmth. "We've reviewed your numbers for the year. The Kyotech account is solid. Good work there." "Thanks, Mark. We crushed it," Chad said, leaning back, lacing his fingers behind his head. "So, when do we pop the champagne for the SVP announcement?" Sarah Chen, the HR head, slid a single piece of paper across the table. It was an internal memo. "We won't be, Chad," she said. "We're not promoting you. In fact, we're taking you off the European expansion team. You'll be reassigned to domestic accounts, focusing on the Midwest." Chad's smile vanished. He sat bolt upright. "What? The Midwest? That's a demotion. That's a backwater. The Kyotech account alone should—" "This isn't about your numbers, Chad," Mark cut in, his voice hard. "It's about your judgment. It's about your character." "My character? What the hell are you talking about?" Sarah tapped the memo. "We lost the renewal for the Ethelred Bank contract." Chad was baffled. "Ethelred? I'm not even on that account. That's Jeff's team." "Yes," Sarah said. And in the exit interview with their COO, they were very specific about why they were moving their business to a competitor. They cited a crisis of confidence in Quantum Leap's professional ethics and judgment, stemming directly from the public conduct of its senior leadership. "I still don't. They were talking about you, Chad," Mark said, his patience gone. "Robert Liu, the COO at Ethelred. He's on the board of a tech charity with David Chen, the CFO of Sonova. They talk." The color drained from Chad's face. Mark continued, his voice a low, angry clip. "Robert heard the full story of what happened at JFK. Not your gangster bar story, Chad. The real one. The one where the gate agent tried to wave you past Dr. Reed. The one where you stood there, smirking, and let it happen. The one where you, a VP of this company, silently endorsed the public, racist humiliation of a fellow CEO, our competitor. I had nothing to do with that," Chad stammered. "It was the gate agent. I was just there." "You were complicit," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "Worse, you were gleeful." Robert Liu's exact words were, "If that's how a Quantum Leap VP behaves when he thinks he has the upper hand, standing on someone else's neck to get ahead, how can I trust his team with our secure financial data? It shows a fundamental lack of character." He said it made you look vulturous and unreliable. Chad was speechless. He had seen the incident as a free shot at a rival. He never, not once, considered how it made him look to his own potential clients. He thought his silence was strategic. They saw it as cowardly and opportunistic. That's not fair," he finally managed. "Fair?" Mark scoffed. "Fair is what Evelyn Reed got. She got justice. This, Chad, is a business decision. You made yourself a liability. You became the face of our company's poor judgment. Your silence, your smirk, cost us a $22 million contract. The Keotech deal you're so proud of? It barely covers the loss. You are no longer a high flyer, Chad. You're a risk. The Midwest assignment is not a debate. It's a quarantine. You're lucky you still have a job at all." Chad Bradford, the man who lived for status, for the corner office, for the killer reputation, was being sent to manage Tractor Supply logistics in Des Moines. It was a corporate death sentence. His phone, which used to buzz with client dinners and perks, would be silent. He had stood by and watched a woman be professionally humiliated, and in doing so, had written the epitaph for his own career. 500 miles away, and a world removed, the fluorescent lights of a stop-and-go convenience store in suburban New Jersey cast a sickly green-white pall. It was 3:17 a.m. Behind the counter, a woman was wiping down the coffee machine with a grey, sour-smelling rag. Her hair, once a helmet of defiant blonde, was now a dull, dishwater grey, pulled back with a rubber band. Her face was puffy, her eyes permanently red-rimmed and empty. She wore a stained, oversized red polyester smock with a plastic name tag that read, simply, Karen. Karen Miller. Her life had imploded with a speed she still couldn't process. The divorce had been swift and brutal. Frank had taken the condo, the pension, everything. He had, his lawyer argued, been professionally damaged by her public and willful misconduct. The judge agreed. She was left with a 15-year-old car, $3,000 in savings, and a name that was so toxic it was unusable. She had been forced to move 2 states away to an efficiency apartment above a defunct laundromat, just to be anonymous enough to get this job. A job that paid $11.50 an hour. Her new world was a rotation of drunks buying cheap vodka, insomniac truckers buying stale hot dogs, and strung-out teenagers stealing energy drinks. The power she had once wielded, the power to delay a flight, to upgrade a friend, to banish a passenger to the back of the line, was a joke. Her new power was deciding whether to brew a fresh pot of decaf. The bell above the door chimed. A man entered, and Karen's entire body tensed. She hated this part of the night. But this man wasn't a threat. He was young, clean-cut, and black, wearing the crisp black and white uniform of a regional airline pilot. He walked with a tired, professional stride, his shoulders back, his pilot's cap tucked under his arm. He came to the counter and placed down a bottle of Fiji water and a pack of gum. He gave her a polite, weary smile. "Just these, please, ma'am," he said. Karen's hands were shaking as she fumbled with the scanner, the uniform, the authority, the politeness. It was all a searing hot poker to her pride. She had spent 20 years looking down on people like him, people she had to deal with. Now he was a customer. He was clean, successful, and on his way to a place she could never go again. And she was. This. Beep, beep. 5 to 78, she mumbled, her eyes fixed on the register. He swiped his credit card. "You have a good night, Matcham. Or morning, I guess. Stay safe." He picked up his bag, gave her another small nod, and walked out. The bell chimed. He was gone. He had been perfectly polite. He had called her Ma'am. He had shown her a basic, human-level courtesy that she, in her position of power, had refused to show Dr. Evelyn Reed. The simple, meaningless, professional interaction broke something in her. Karen Miller leaned her forehead against the cool glass of the cigarette display. She didn't sob. She didn't have the energy for that anymore. A single, hot, bitter tear slid down her cheek and dripped onto the dusty counter. This was it. This was the rest of her life. She wasn't a supervisor. She wasn't even a name. She was just the woman on the graveyard shift, invisible to the world, a ghost haunting a gas station, forever on the wrong side of the counter. The karma wasn't just hard, it was total, and that is what hard karma looks like. It's not just about one woman losing her job, it's about an entire system being forced to confront its own failures. Karen Miller's prejudice cost her everything, her job, her home, her status. She abused her small amount of power and paid a catastrophic price. But the real story is Evelyn Reed. She didn't just get angry, she got strategic. She turned a moment of public humiliation into a multi-million-dollar business decision that sent a shockwave through an entire industry. She proved that the most powerful response to "you don't belong here" is to own the entire building. What do you think? Was Evelyn's response justified? Was it too harsh, or was it exactly the kind of consequence needed to make a real change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure you subscribe for more true-life stories of drama, karma, and justice. Thank you for listening.